Long before the refineries arrived, the Great Lakes were defined by indigenous myths and untamed wilderness. Today, heavy industrial output is slowly obscuring that history. This is Sarnia, Ontario, a region known as Chemical Valley. It contains 62 petrochemical facilities and refineries that process roughly 40% of Canada's entire chemical industry, fueled by a network of pipelines running deep underground. This concentration of industry produces millions of kilograms of toxic air pollution every year. For the people living nearby, the reality involves nausea, frequent pollution warnings, and the sound of emergency sirens triggered by industrial malfunctions. Chemical Valley represents a landscape that has been almost entirely re-engineered for industrial production. However, a different map exists for this same territory. Right in the middle of these industrial zones, some locals have placed a marker for a site they call the Pyramids of Sarnia. This alternative map is the work of Christieanderson, a local artist and researcher who documents the changing environments of Sarnia's downtown parks. Her Pyramids of Sarnia project treats this heavily industrialized zone as an ancient site with an unwritten history, focusing on unexplained occurrences along the riverbed. Why would anyone look for ancient ghosts in a valley defined by refineries? The coordinates for Anderson's pyramids point to 100 Clifford Street, a public waterfront space officially known as Rainbow Park. There are no literal stone ruins here. The pyramids are an artistic nickname Anderson uses to frame her documentation of the site's natural progression. Today, the park is known less for archaeological mysteries and more for its role as the site of a large homeless encampment. Even so, Anderson's focus on the unexplained at this specific location follows a tradition of lore surrounding the St. Clair River. The psychological pull of this riverbed persists, bridging the gap between a modern municipal park and the unwritten history she seeks to film. Pulling back from Sarnia reveals that these local mysteries are part of a wider history of the Great Lakes. Legends from the megafauna era describe giants like the Wendigo or Chichu, whose massive footsteps carved the northern lakes. In Thunder Bay, these legends have a physical form, the sleeping giant, a rock formation that locals say is the body of a chief turned to stone by a water spirit. Beyond folklore, 19th century reports detail physical anomalies. In 1871, 200 skeletons, many measuring 9 feet tall, were unearthed along the Grand River in Cayuga, Ontario. In 1934, similar 8-foot remains were discovered near Simcoe on Lake Erie. These records of giants and anomalies have been part of the Great Lakes narrative for generations, existing long before the first oil rigs arrived. The 9-foot skeletons are gone. Today, the Sarnia landscape is defined by the corporate titans that now rule the skyline. Starting with the petroleum oil fields in the 1860s, companies like Imperial Oil, Suncor, and Shell terraformed the land into an industrial hub. This expansion replaced the wilderness with a grid of steel pipes, toxic deposits, and emergency sirens. The myths of ancient giants were overwritten by mechanical ones that permanently altered the local ecosystem. Back at the riverbank, Christieanderson continues her Pyramids of Sarnia project. Her obsession with documenting the park suggests a way for a community to live within a landscape that has been physically transformed by industry. By applying a mythic title like Pyramids to a polluted park, she attempts to find a layer of meaning that exists beyond industrial output. Her work reconnects the modern city to the older, unwritten history of the Great Lakes. As long as the river flows past the refineries, the search for something more than just chemicals in the water will likely continue.